What's going on, everybody? It's Friday afternoon. We've got fights coming up in less than 24 hours. I've got my Greasy four-leg parlay teed up and ready to go for you guys. 4 legs plus 702 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's check it out leg by leg. We got my guy Victor De Jesus is in the chat here saying, "Oi, yes, what's up, Weezy in chat? Let's cash Greasy tickets this weekend." Absolutely. Let's do that. And let's start with what leg number 1 of this parlay is going to be. And it is going to be the Spann versus Dominic Reyes under 1.5 rounds, which is available at minus 125 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. If I share my screen with you guys here and bring up my prop template, this used to be minus 110. I actually have a 1-unit bet on this at plus 100 that I got earlier in the week on Caesars. But at minus 125, you can see that this line is overpriced by about 9% when we compare it to the benchmark for the division going under 1.5 rounds. But what we also see is that even though the implied probability of the line here is 55.56% at minus 125, Spann and Dominic Reyes are going under 1.5 rounds about 63% of the time. So we're still getting a discount on this line when we compare how often Spann and Reyes go under 1.5 combined in their UFC careers. So it's not a bad bet. I think stylistically this shapes up for violence as well. We've got a southpaw versus orthodox matchup here. We got Spann, who had a rough weight cut and who's been finished several times early in fights. The best kickboxer that Spann has faced was Anthony Smith. And Smith, I don't even think is as good on the feet as Dominic Reyes is. And Smith just absolutely picked him apart and destroyed him and finished him in the first round. So I think that this fight does finish early. Minus 125 is a little bit steep. But since I'm doing it on DraftKings, I had to pick that site in order to get all the right bets and got some better money lines there on the other 3 legs. But violence is the very first leg of this bet. So that's what we're doing. Leg number 2, we're going to the money lines now. And that is going to be the Renato Moicano money line. In this fight, let me bring up the stats here. I am looking for Renato Moicano to have success in the grappling. He's getting his takedowns at almost a 50% clip here, 14 of 29. And on those 14 takedowns, Renato Moicano has gotten 5 submissions. He's a very high percentage grappler. When he gets you down, you stay there. But he's not exactly a guy who's shooting a ton of takedowns. But when he does shoot them and get them, he's very efficient with them in terms of winning rounds and winning fights. And Brad Riddell's a guy who's shown 62% takedown defense and has been controlled almost 25% of the 73 minutes that he's been in the cage. That's about 17 minutes of control time that he's allowed in only 6 fights. If you give Renato Moicano 2 or 3 minutes on the ground to work, there's a very good chance that he's going to be able to submit you. So since Renato is so high percentage on his takedowns, and since we have seen him start to go to them more often against guys like Hernandez and Herbert, I think a lot of people are saying that Fiziev, is a great kickboxer and he easily knocked out Moicano, and Brad performed better, much better in the stand-up against Fiziev than Moicano did. But the difference is that Fiziev has 100% takedown defense, so he kind of forces you to strike with him. Riddell doesn't have that kind of striking defense, that kind of takedown defense. So it's not as if Renato Moicano is going to be forced to strike with Brad if he doesn't want to. And if he doesn't want to, which I think would be very smart, he can take this guy down. He can try to get to his back and try to lock in that signature rear naked choke. I have a 0.25 unit bet on Renato Moicano by submission at plus 420, or I think it's plus 450 even. That was available on Bet Online earlier in the week. That line is long gone, but Moicano is very good in the stand-up too. He's going to have the reach advantage and the height advantage here. He's very long. His punches are very straight. And, he's very competitive in the stand-up. But I think if this gets to the ground, we're going to see that Moicano was a level above Riddell on the ground, and that he could potentially finish it via submission down there. So leg number 2 is the Renato Moicano money line, minus 125 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Leg number 3 is going to be Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, the Dan Hooker money line at minus 145. I really don't know what's going on with this line, everybody. I'm shocked that Hooker is not minus 200 or minus 250 here. Puelles has got below average striking and below average wrestling. He's got very good submission grappling, but I don't think he really has the ability to be able to get it there regularly against higher level opponents. Now, Dan Hooker is showing 79% takedown defense in his career, but at the lightweight level, he's stopped 19 of 21 takedown or 18 of 21 takedown attempts. So he's got an 86% takedown defense as a lightweight. And Puelles is a guy that when he was fighting Gritzmacher, we had Dan Cormier talking some mad shit about Puelles' entries and the fact that he just doesn't have very good wrestling. And, we've also seen Dan Hooker successfully defend leg locks against Ally Quinter and Ian Entwistle. So, I feel like this is just, Hooker's ratio here in his fights is 1.81 win-to-loss ratio to 1.04 for Puelles, and he's facing almost twice as experienced competition. And even at the wins, 1.62 to 1.19 and the more experienced competition there. This for me is just Hooker all day long. I don't think Puelles can even take this guy down. And I think while it's on the feet, Hooker's going to beat 7 shades of shit out of him. So that is line number 3, leg number 3, the Dan Hooker money line. And to complete it with leg number 4, we're going to go to your main event and look for an and still out of Israel Adesanya at minus 215. I always like to do that 4th leg of the parlay as being the widest leg, so that by the time this thing, if the first 3 legs do cash, we can say plus 175 on Pereira, or we can even bet the Pereira knockout as a nice little hedge on this thing. But Israel Adesanya is, never lost to anybody at 185 pounds as a mixed martial artist. He is going to be just as long and just as tall as Alex Pereira. He's younger than him. He's got 17 more MMA fights and 10 more fights at the UFC level. He's went 5 rounds several times, while Pereira has never even been scheduled for 5. There are no standing 8 counts in this sport. There are none of the rule sets. The cage makes things different. The small gloves make things different. The fact that you have to worry and account for the takedown makes things different. I feel like Pereira has a puncher's chance here, but I think a puncher's chance is just that. It's something that you really can't count on regularly. And I think that, Israel Adesanya is going to cruise here and get the job done. He's got the much better strength of schedule, obviously, as he's been fighting championship fights forever. He's basically cleaned out this division. And so that's why I think Pereira has been given this shot, despite the fact that he hasn't really earned it. They kind of gave him 3 of the least likely opponents to be able to wrestle him effectively at all. I think that there are guys in this division that aren't even top 10 that would absolutely drown Alex Pereira, that wouldn't stand a chance in hell of even sniffing winning a round off of Israel Adesanya. So, I think this is a levels thing. I think we're going to find out that MMA is much different than kickboxing, and that it takes just a much more well-rounded skill set and much better coaching to win consistently at this level. So Israel Adesanya, leg number 4. This checks in at plus 702 on DraftKings Sportsbook. So not the widest one that we've had, but a half unit brings you back 3.5 if we cash here. And, with 3 money lines and a pretty safe under 1.5 with 2 very, violent guys that finish fights early, I think we got a great chance at cashing this one. And I am looking to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 281. If you are looking to access the stats that I always have here, You can get them on Patreon, patreon.com/Uncle Weezy. The link is in the description of this video. $5 a month for these stats that you see here on the screen, and $20 a month for access to the prop template with all of the 5-round analytics and all of the 3-round analytics by weight class for every bettable bet, so that you know where the benchmarks are, and you also know how often these fighters are going under 1.5 combined and starting round 3 combined, and all those things, so that you can find the best time props and bet those according to which ones are priced the cheapest. So I invite you to join the Patreon. We've got a great Discord community. I've already placed a 5-unit bet for next week's action for UFC Vegas 65. So if you join the Patreon, you can get in on that one early as well. We have got in these comments here, we've got Prince of Mischief saying, "Oh, yes." And Jared Curry saying, "Oi, parlay about to be greasier than a mushroom lunch." You got that right, man. Mushrooms got some greasy ass lunches. But as the grease goes up, so does the deliciousness. So the guy knows how to eat like a pro. Daz Files in the room saying, "Greasy as a let's fucking go. Let's go." Gorilla Gamble saying, "What's up, Uncle Weezy? Good to see you in here, Gorilla." We got Bob Spikerman saying, "Let's get it." We got Prince of Mischief saying, "On FanDuel, they have a boost. Izzy and Dustin to win by KO or points plus 250. That has me worried. I got both of them winning. Yeah, I've cashed on a couple of those FanDuel price boosts before. I remember Strickland by decision against Uriah Hall was boosted, and I wound up having a fucking fat win on that one. But yeah, usually when they're boosting something, they're basically saying that the fans like this, but our analytics say that it's not likely to happen. They're not in the habit of giving away money. So yeah, that is a little bit worrisome, but I don't look too much into that kind of stuff. Congratulations on 2,000, Weezy. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, man. 2,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel. I'd like to take the time to thank all of you for getting me to 2,000. I think I'm 5 followers short of 3,000 followers on Twitter right now. So it's very humbling after being in this game for just a little bit more than a year at this point that you guys have shown me this kind of support and this much love. And the love is coming right back at you. I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for hanging out, watching the content. We got my guy Monk Maddox in the room saying, "Weezy," one of my partners from the MMA Engine. Good to see you in here, Monk. Let's stack them high this weekend, brother. And we got Hagbard Celine saying, "Greasy, Weezy, lemon squeezy." Let's get it, buddy. And I'll get you on Twitter, bro. I appreciate you, Hagbard. That's awesome. Let's get me to 3,000 followers on Twitter today, man. I appreciate you guys. And Bob's got the flex in there. I love it, man. And Keiki Akagi saying, "Hey, Weezy, Silvana by KO." I don't hate that bet at all, Kai. This one is definitely, she just hits so hard. And I believe that, her opponent will be there to be hit. So if she can land a good shot, Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she absorbs a lot of significant strikes. She's been very durable, but I think Silvana hits different. I really do. So I do not hate that Silvana by KO bet at all. I'm going to have a decent amount of Silvana in DraftKings at 8,000 with that kind of upside. I think is a sneaky play this week. We got my guy Victor Jesus is riding with me on that max bet that I made next weekend, man. Yeah, let's get that, dude. I'm fired up for that fight. I think it's going to be a great spot. Alex Pereira, please smoke this dude. Yeah, I mean, I'm betting Israel here, but it would be exciting to see somebody do something to Israel on the feet at this level, because he's been so dominant for so long and he's had a lot of boring fights. I definitely see why some people would love to see Pereira champ. And we got Rob Lawrence is in the room saying, "Oi, yes." And we've got Bob Spikerman saying Silvana KO, Moicano sub, Ulberg decision, Arce money line, Alex Pereira. Let's get that shit. Let's go, Bob. You guys, good luck to all of you on all of your bets for UFC 281. I know I'm pushing 10 units on this card right now. I might sprinkle a couple more things before the end of the week. I'll let you know on the Patreon if I do. But thank you guys for hanging out with me. 24 of you guys just checking in on that Greasy parlay. For those of you who joined in late, it's going to be the Spann Reyes under 1.5, the Hanato Moicano money line, the Dan Hooker money line, and the Israel Adesanya line money line, checking in at plus 702 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's cash this parlay, everybody. Let's cash all of our tickets for UFC 281, stack them like flapjacks, and then pour some butter and some syrup over them and enjoy a lovely dinner. Good luck to all you guys. I'll see you next week, Sunday night, 6:15 Central Time, Pub Sports Radio with my guy DFS by the numbers for Stat Diggers, and we're going to break down all the fights on this UFC Vegas 65 card. God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you next week.